Hi, hello my book loving besties. Welcome to a very exciting video. Today we will be going through and setting up my 2023 reading journal. I also have my 2022 reading journal here with me to show you all briefly, since I've gotten a lot of requests to see this. A lot of very passionate requests, and I've been holding off because, to be honest, I'm kind of embarrassed of this. Like, this was my first attempt at a reading journal, so obviously it has its flaws, and bullet journaling is definitely something you get better at with more practice, and I'm such a perfectionist that probably anything I created I wouldn't be 100% happy with. But let's just say my 2023 reading journal is going to be a lot better. I know it's better because I'm filming the segment after I've already created it, but before we get into that, let's quickly go through last year's. So here's my 2022 reading journal. I do love this cover, it's gorgeous, couldn't be more me. I'm not going to really explain the different spreads because I will be going into more detail on my 2023 spreads, which do overlap concept-wise in some areas, and I also think these spreads are pretty self-explanatory. But please feel free to pause the video whenever you like. This reading goal spread I did mean to fill in, that never ended up happening though. My bad. My main issue with this journal was the pages. I was about to say the pages were paper thin, maybe that's not the best comparison. Okay, they were rice paper then, there we go. I just needed the pages to be thicker to prevent markers from bleeding through. There will be no bleeding going on in this house in 2023's journal. But yeah, I think you all get the gist of this journal. Again, it's not perfect, but I'm still pretty proud of it. Alright, moving on to my 2023 journal. After lots of research, I decided to buy one this year from Archer and Olive, which I did actually get on sale. My red flag is that I can't resist a deal, which will probably one day be to my detriment. This was technically part of last season's winter collection, hence the pajamas on the cover, but since I knew I wanted to put stickers on the cover anyways, I didn't really care and I liked the colors, so here we are. I decided to start with this title page because I definitely did not accidentally skip over the cover initially. But this page, who would have thought, lets anyone know who picks up this journal that it is in fact my 2023 reading journal. I actually got the idea from Pinterest to cut off part of the first page so that the second page is peeking through. It's saying, hello, hi, how are ya? Which I just thought was such a cute idea. I don't want to claim ownership of any of the spread ideas because most are inspired by other people's reading journals I saw on either Pinterest, Instagram, or BookTube. There's literally so much reading journal content out there. It's a tad overwhelming, but in a good way. And at this moment in the B-roll, you can see that I realized my drastic mistake, the first of many to come. I cut the letters I was cutting out backwards. Mirror imagery, yeah, apparently I've never heard of her. So I was like, Sarah, let's just take a break for a second and work on the cover. For the cover, the stickers I used are a mix of some I found on the internet, but sadly the internet only contains so much and thus didn't have the more niche stickers I wanted. Luckily, I had the brilliant idea to design my own stickers, why not, right? Which was surprisingly pretty time consuming, but I think it was worth it as I'm really happy with the results. So of course I had to make a Finley Donovan one, that's my favorite book of all time. And then I also made the Part of Your World inspired sticker that features a goat with pajamas, which is an if you know you know reference from the book. Guys, I love making stickers now. And now I'm so tempted to start like a bookish sticker Etsy shop. I don't know, we'll see. Let me know your thoughts. Now jumping back to the title page. For the coffee cup, I used these acrylograph paint pens from Archer and Olive. I picked them up because I heard that they are supposedly great for bullet journaling. I like them all right. I got the smaller tip pens. They have like two different versions. I think the smaller ones are better for writing and drawing smaller details rather than spending half an hour trying to fill in a large space. And depending on the color, you do have to layer the pens quite a bit, but still they're pretty fun to test out and play with. This year I decided to make my reading goals page the very first official page so that I would get a little slap in the face each time I open the journal so that I can keep myself on track with my yearly goals. Unfortunately for this page, I had to decimate a paper bag. Sometimes sacrifices have to be made. I wanted to use craft paper, but you know, if you don't have lemons to make lemonade, you may have to settle and use limes instead. I know, such a great metaphor, you're welcome for that. For my goals this year, I want to read 100 books. At this moment, Goodreads says I'm on track, so far so good. I also want to continue to read more diverse authors and books. I want to post more bookish content on Insta. So if you have not followed my Instagram yet, my account is @sarah.w01. It's also, as always, linked in the description box as well, along with my Goodreads account, which you can friend me on as well. I love seeing what you all are reading. And then I also want to participate in some kind of week-long readathon because I've never done that before, but I want to make sure this year I carve out some time to do that because that sounds so fun. Every reading journal needs a bookshelf of some kind, so here's mine. People use a bookshelf layout like this for a smattering of reasons, but I found that this kind of layout works best for me to track the genres I read chronologically throughout the year. Also, these stickers were so perfect to add little accessories to the bookshelf. They're from Hobby Lobby, though I don't really support Hobby Lobby anymore, because after learning some pretty upsetting information about the company, I would just rather give my money to someone else, but I digress. But the supplies I used throughout the journal are either from Hobby Lobby, Michaels, or Target, in case you're wondering. Oh, and then of course Archer and Olive. Up in the right hand corner, I did make a key and assigned a color to each genre, so then throughout the year after I finish a book, I can color in the corresponding color on the bookshelf I drew. And then eventually at the end of the year, we will hopefully have a gorgeous colorful spread of all of the different genres I read in 2023. My next layout is probably concept-wise my favorite. Oh my gosh guys, it is so windy outside today. I don't know if you all can hear that. This is the books read layout. This spread allows me to look back on all my reads throughout the year and see when I read them along with what I rated them. I'm such a visual person, so I love seeing my reads in a spread like this. To avoid last year's mistake of having to make additional books read spreads randomly throughout the journal, I did leave 10 consecutive pages blank. I made sure to think ahead this time around. Yep, it just keeps going. This is a new one. This is my series tracker spread. To, as the name implies, keep track of the series I've read. I kind of find it funny watching the B-roll back of me having to go on Goodreads and look up all the different names of the books in the different series. No way could I have remembered all those books, let alone spell all of them correctly. I am the worst speller you will ever meet. This is what happens when you grow up relying too heavily on autocorrect. Sure, I may read 2 to 3 books a week, but you wouldn't be able to tell that from my horrendous spelling. These little quote-unquote progress bars I will continue to fill in as I read more from these series. And of course, I also left room for when I inevitably start new series. These next 2 pages are really fun. Welcome to my reading challenge spreads. On the left, I started by making an A to Z spread, which basically challenges one to read, I guess, 26 books, all with titles that start with different letters in the alphabet. So for example, if I read for the first time this year Addicted to You, I could fill in that title for A. I'm going to need some X, Y, and Z book recommendations because I currently have no idea what books I could read for those letters. Moving on to the right, I made a bingo spread. Guys, bingo and I go way back. In elementary school, I won the school-wide bingo game, and guess what I used that money for? If you said to buy books, you would be wrong. I was not into books that much back in the day. Instead, American Girl had me in a chokehold. So I went and bought an American Girl doll, which I still do have till this day. Caroline Abbott is just chilling in my closet at my parents' house. Sure, she's comfy. If that helps you sleep better at night, you can keep telling yourself that. Even though this is a bingo challenge and the idea is to complete 5 of the challenges in a row, I'm still going to try to do as many of the challenges as I can. This is more of a fill in as many of the squares rather than trying to get 5 across bingo game. It's kind of hard to read my chicken scratch, but the challenges are along the lines of read a book with a 3-word title, read a book over 750 pages, read a book with a bookish main character. So obviously some are easier than others, but I didn't want all of the challenges to be super hard, as these challenges are meant to be fun, not stressful. Next, we have my book within a book. This is my TBR Book Tracker spread. To make this spread, I basically cut out some of the pages of the actual journal to make the mini book. Oh, and in the B-roll, as you can see, I stopped with keeping the candle lit because I had already burned half of the big candle and I wanted to save some of it. But then I used some iconic rabbit paper for the cover, which I just basically cut and then glued to the front of the first page and the back of the last page. The point of the spread is to fill in the book with everything on your physical TBR, and then throughout the year after you read one of your books, you can either highlight or cross out the title. I have not actually set up the book yet because that will take me a hot minute, and setting up this reading journal has already taken me 5 days to do. That's a whole work week right there. So the reading journal is definitely still a work in progress. I'll get to it eventually, don't worry. Now I think this next spread is design-wise my favorite. My 23 books I want to read in 2023. These are books that I don't really have any plans as of right now for when I want to read them, besides that I know I want to read them sometime in 2023. Some of these books I own, some I don't, but once I've read one of these books, I plan on coloring in the corresponding book on the spread. I think my favorite part of the spread is the heading. I just love how all of the layers came together, along with incorporating the white 2023 writing. It's gorgeous, babes. Let's see, I have on here Bunny, The Perfect Child, The Nightingale, Mindfuck, The Godparent Trap, All the Dangerous Things, Dance of Thieves, Twisted Tongues, It Starts With Us, The Perfect Marriage, The Girls I've Been, The Summer I Turned Pretty, The Lying Game, The Couple Next Door, Stranger in the House, Lessons in Chemistry, Happy Place, Yours Truly, Before the Coffee Gets Cold, 9 Liars, The Collective, Friends, Enemies, and the Big Terrible Thing, to fine print. Obviously, there's a lot of other books I want to read this year, but most of them I have plans for when I want to read them, whether that's I want to read them soon or I want to read them in the spring, summer, you get the point. My next spread is another one of my favorites. We have my anticipated releases spread. I wanted this layout to have the books be in clouds to represent how I'm just over here daydreaming about these releases all the time. My most anticipated release has got to be Finley Donovan Jumps the Gun, which has already come out. And I know it's surprising, I have not bought it yet. It has taken a lot of willpower to not immediately go out and buy that book. I'm trying to hold off until the next time I go to Barnes & Noble because I already have so many books on my TBR, so I really don't need to be buying more books. That's not to say I have not been buying books. You can expect a collective book haul coming soon, but I have not been to a mass market book retailer such as Barnes & Noble in a couple of months now. I know, sad. I'm also really excited for Vengeance of the Pirate Queen, which is the third book in the Daughter of the Pirate King series. It has been over a year since I last read a book in that series, and I miss the world and the pirate atmosphere so much. I did leave some clouds blank so I can add more anticipated releases once their covers have been released. Moving on to my author backlist, which I plan to use to keep track of books from certain authors I have or have not read yet. For the spread, I was going for like a library due date sheet vibe. I don't even know if those still exist. But to do that, I started by making these little pockets out of cardstock paper, which will eventually hold the little slips. Most of the authors I included are some of my favorites, but then I also have some such as J.P. Delaney, whom I wouldn't say is a favorite, but I have one more of his to read before I've read all of his books. Granted, he has only written 4 books, but I am a completionist. Is that a word? I don't know. But I want the satisfaction of having read all of his books. I did add these sparkly hearts, which are adorable, but messier than my brother. I'm seriously considering going back and Mod Podging these stickers to seal all the glitter in, because frankly, I would rather not leave a glitter trail whenever I move the journal. I have not filled in the little due date-esque slips yet, but again, this is a work in progress. Next, we have my audiobooks read spread. To, you guessed it, keep track of all the audiobooks I read throughout the year. I mostly read physical books, but I have recently, in the last few months, become a big audiobook lover, and I don't know how I lived this long without them. Because if anyone is known as a multitasker, even when they probably shouldn't be multitasking, it's me. I love listening to audiobooks while I'm doing chores, when I'm cooking, basically anytime my ears need a little entertainment. It's a proven fact, no need to fact check me, just trust me on this, that audiobooks make mundane activities 10 times better. I do prefer reading physical books over audiobooks, so usually the novels I choose to listen to are ones I'm on defense of whether I want to read them or not. But recently that tactic has not been the best, as I've listened to consecutively a number of subpar books. So maybe don't do that, but still, unless someone tells me to listen to a novel audibly, I'm still going to continue with my tactic. Moving on to my nonfiction spread, which currently has no books in it. I expect that this will eventually accumulate mostly memoirs, since that's typically the type of nonfiction book I like to read. I don't think I've read another nonfiction book in its entirety. No, scratch that, I have, but they have been textbooks. Let me know if there's any nonfiction I absolutely need to read. I'm always open to recs, but I made this spread so that I can glue the nonfiction books on these little flaps and then write on the inside any notes I have about the books or anything that really struck me and altered my brain chemistry. This year I knew I had to make a spread for the book club / book swap my friend Shri and I have. Y'all are probably like, what the heck is a double trouble book swap? Long story short, back in high school, Shri and I did a project where we created a podcast episode analyzing a Michael Jackson song, and our podcast name was The Double Trouble Show. Who knows why? I surely don't, even though I'm pretty sure I was the one who came up with it. But you know, I had to give our book club little names, so I thought the Double Trouble book swap was fitting. In this spread, I can keep track of the different books we send each other each month and what we rated them. On the left, we have the books she sent me, and then on the right, we have the books I sent her. I need to ask her what she rated Malibu Rising. Yes, we did have a whole in-depth conversation about the book, but I forgot what she rated it. I also did include December of 2022 because that's when we started the swap, and this is my journal, so I can do what I want. I left these pages blank to continue to fill in after our swap each month. Oh, I also love this next spread. I'm saying that a lot, but it's true. This is my favorite book of each month layout, which basically just displays my monthly favorite. And although these books may not be some of my absolute favorite of all times, I like having a page where I can look back and see some of my favorites throughout the year. And depending on the books I put on here and what I ended up rating them, I can also see what months were kind of shitty reading months. This year I made this spread in a Polaroid hanging on a line format, which I just thought went with the slightly vintage leaning vibe I was going for. Okay, my last spread for now. I do still plan on adding more spreads throughout the year. Like, I know I want to make dedicated spreads for my favorite books, which I plan to make look like aesthetic Pinterest boards inspired by those books, if you know what I mean. Alright, my 2023 reading bracket. At the end of the year, my monthly faves will be going head to head and battling it out for the spot for my favorite book of the year. And to properly set the mood for this momentous occasion, I had to bring up and play some from my fave, Sam Smith. What I learned this time around at creating a reading journal is 1, make sure you buy multiple tape runners, because during the middle of the spread I had to make an emergency trip to Target after my second tape runner ran out of tape, and I had already gone through my 2 glue sticks as well. 2, make sure you keep scrap paper, as that will probably come in handy later on. And 3, layering is your best friend. In my opinion, the spreads with lots of different layers are so visually appealing. This is probably the one spread that I won't work on again until December, after I figured out all of my monthly faves. Okay, let's finally do a flip through of my 2023 reading journal. Enjoy! I'm so glad that this reading journal has a strap on it because it's busting at the seams. Dang, that's like impressive. As I've already said multiple times, this is still a work in progress and I definitely do want to add more spreads to it. But I've gotten a really good start on this year's journal and I'm really happy with it so far. Let me know down in the comments how your reading journal is coming along. And if you have not tried reading journaling, I encourage you to give it a go because y'all are missing out on something that's really fun and therapeutic. As always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. It really does help me and my channel out a lot. You can also comment, interact, subscribe, all that fun YouTube stuff. I'd really appreciate it. I hope y'all are having a fantastic day and I will see you in my next one. Bye.